up, everybody? I'm back for another episode of the PG Sports Podcast. Our special guest today is Steve Orosco, former MMA fighter, now entrepreneur. We're going to dig into that, how he got into MMA, what's he doing entrepreneurship-wise with his company Smash Global. And yeah, it should be dope. I've just been making TikToks all day this morning. Made a smoothie that wasn't that great. Not tasting it was good, but I don't know, it was weirdly foaming. What's up, Steve? Let's see. He already. Let's see if it works, anyways. Yo.
What's going on, man? How are you?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. A beautiful day in New England.
Are you in Connecticut?
Yeah, I'm in Connecticut right now, and it's pouring. It's lightning.
Yeah, me too.
I'm like I'm right across the street from the water.
Yeah.
So the wind is like, I feel like my house is gonna blow away.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, it's pretty bad day. Feel free to ask questions. So how's everything else going with coronavirus?
Man, I'm ready to social undistance ASAP. I was good for a few weeks, but I'm a very introverted person. So when I'm at home, I like to recharge. Like, it's like my sanctuary. So when you're home and everyone else is always home, you never have that time to yourself. So it's not always easy. I love it. I love my family to death, but nice to have a little bit of a break, I guess.
Yeah, I feel you.
And I can't get back to LA. And I used to go back to LA once a month, and I'm not able to do that until this is over.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, the first 2 weeks I was like, all right, this is easy. And then the next couple weeks I've been like, all right, can't go anywhere, so it kind of sucks.
Yeah, it does. It does. And when, again, the weather's not even nice outside.
Yeah.
It's not like you can spend time outdoors. I feel like if I was in California still, I'd go outside.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah, I think I think for us, once it gets warmer, then it's going to get kind of worse here, because then we're going to be like, damn, now it's like warm and can't go anywhere, but we could go outside. I guess that'll be better.
Yeah, for sure. But listen, I have a 6-year-old kid with a lot.
Yeah.
So it's not easy being indoors all the time.
Yeah, for sure. And then I'm sure they don't understand what's going on.
No, they have no idea. They just say, "Oh, it's the virus. It's the virus," but they really don't know.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's jump into Steve a little bit here. How'd you get into like MMA? Because I saw you kind of started late, right? You turned pro at like 31 or 32.
Yeah, wrestling, I always say, is what made me. And when I had moved to Connecticut, I was introduced to Andrew Calandrelli of Ultimate MMA over in North Haven, Connecticut. And I started doing jiu-jitsu, and I just fell in love with grappling. It was everything. And obviously from there, it was, his boxing classes, he had Muay Thai, and I just fell in love with the sport so much that I had to get involved with it, and I wanted to fight.
Yeah, actually going back before that, where'd you grow up?
Newport, Rhode Island.
Okay. And then you came over here for college? Or is that later?
I went to New York. So I was in the city for college. But I ended up back here because I was recruited by a firm called Barnum Financial Group. And then I also went back to grad school at Albertus Magnus.
Gotcha.
So I was there. I got my MBA. I got my MS. And then, that kind of life wasn't for me, man. I'm not the 9-to-5 kind of guy, unfortunately. So we ended up moving to San Diego in 2009.
Gotcha. Yeah, so going back into MMA, so you said you just started training and then you fell in love with it?
Fell in love with it. I got the bug.
Yeah.
I got the bug for sure.
And then how long did you train for up until your first like pro fight?
Let me think. So I started at Andrews probably like 2005. That was until 2009. We moved to San Diego. I think my first fight was 2012.
Did you do any amateur fights? Because I didn't see it on the.
No.
Oh, okay, so you went pro first.
Yeah.
Why'd you do that?
Age. Again, like I was 31. I think I was 29 or 30. And listen, these young guns, I knew I didn't have it in me to have 10 amateur fights and have a ton of pro fights. You know what I mean? So I had to do it in a short period of time and as fast as I could.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know how accurate these websites are, but it says July 20th, 2013 was your first pro fight.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So what was your first pro fight like?
Scariest moment of my life. I don't care what anyone out there says. I don't care if you fight someone in a wheelchair. Your first fight, and almost every fight, you're scared. Like, you think like guys who are fighters, they train so hard and, they're savages and they're always ready. Yes, we might be ready and prepared, but nothing prepares you for the pre-fight jitters. Obviously, it all goes away once that bell rings. But up until then, man, it's pretty much the scariest moment of your life, at least for me.
It's crazy. What about, I know you had a few knockouts. What does a knockout feel like?
It feels good. It feels good. I love the submission. Like, I'm a very rear naked choke kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Ground and pounds. So ground and pounds, get them to turn over. As soon as you feel they're starting to turn just a little bit, you're sinking that choke and it's out.
Yeah. I saw none of your fights went the distance.
Yes. No.
And then I saw you were 7-1. I saw on your page that you said when you got knocked out, that changed your life forever. So how did that change your life forever?
At the time, I think without 2000, I was 34 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I had a 1-year-old at home. I'd already had 2 knee surgeries. And for me, I knew that I didn't know it was it, but I didn't have it in me to go through more fight camps.
Mm-hmm.
My last fight camp was at Alliance MMA in San Diego. And that took such a toll on my body because those guys are such savages. Training with guys like Michael Chandler and sparring with him every day, and Dominic Cruz and Jeremy Stevens and all those guys. It killed me. That was the toughest camp I ever had. And after that fight, I just knew, again, I didn't have it in me anymore to go through 3, 4, 5 more fight camps to hopefully get into the UFC. And I decided just to call it quits. But
Gotcha.
I love the sport so much, I still wanted to stay in it. So it was pretty much 2 options: open up your own gym, or stay and get my promoter's license. And I asked myself, what could I do to make my sport better? Like, what is it lacking? So that's when I started Smash Global.
Gotcha. Like, was it hard for you to retire?
The itch is still there. It wasn't hard for me to retire, but the itch never goes away. I guess you ask anyone who competes, they miss it. Not just the competition, but also the brotherhood behind it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fun thing I'm sorry, not a fun thing. It's something you can't explain. Going to practice, stretching on the mat and laughing with each other and joking around and breaking balls. And then, all right, it's time to go. Headgear goes on, wrap them up, and you're punching each other in the face. And then when it's all over, you're back on the mat, cooling down, laughing about it. So that's definitely something I miss.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, pretty much every athlete that retires that I talk to always says, like, they miss the camaraderie.
Yeah. And again, you have to know when to call it quits. I think that's the biggest problem with athletes, is they don't know when to call it quits. I am fortunate only because I have an education. I was in corporate America. I can do other things. A lot of fighters, that's all they know. And so it makes it harder for them to retire because that's where they're going to make their money. Yeah,
for sure. Now I know you said you didn't want to work like a 9 to 5, but what were before you started your own company? What were some jobs you had beforehand?
Oh, I was in finance.
Okay.
So Barnum Financial was my job before I started.
Gotcha. So tell me more about Smash Global.
Smash Global. So Pro MMA League, I started in end of 2015. Like I said, when I stopped fighting, I asked myself, what can I do to make my sport better? And I always preface this so no one thinks I'm being an asshole. But MMA is a very NASCAR crowd. It started from such a grassroots background, whereas boxing was built on centuries of history and build up. It started with people who had money in the first place. You watch major boxing venues or fights. People are in suits with their wives in gowns. It's more of a prestigious thing associated with it. Whereas MMA, it's a very tap out T-shirt, Bud Light kind of crowd, which is fine. But every sporting platform on the planet has some sort of experience to go with it, like a VIP experience.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get that Formula One crowd to be involved with the sport. So I started Smash Global. It's a black tie and gown, ticket price point that's doesn't phase out the MMA community, but it brings in the VIP crowd. You know, full seated dinner like that of a wedding. I have 4 to 5 pro fights, and then I honor a iconic individual with each event, which is what really is the big draw. Because most people in this crowd can't even name 3 UFC champions in the first place. So I can't say, oh, this person's fighting, that person is fighting. So if I piggyback off of an honoree and give that, they'll attract more people to come actually watch fights.
I'm laughing at Lewis's comment. Luis.
What's up, Luis?
What was I going to say? Oh, so how many events have you had so far?
I've had 9.
Okay.
My 10th one was going to be in May, obviously canceled.
Yeah.
And
what have you learned from the first one to the 9th one?
I'll tell you what, one thing people don't realize when they watch these fights, the promoter it's way harder to be a promoter than to be a fighter.
Yeah.
Most fighters it's actually, and I can say that because I've gone through fight camps. Like, most promoters, they don't understand what a fighter goes through to get ready for a fight, and I do. And most fighters don't understand what promoters have to go through to make the fights happen.
Yeah.
From fights falling off like 2 days before the fight, trying to find replacements, to vendors falling off, to ticket sales and sponsors. There's so many facets and logistics to put on a successful show. It's absolutely insane.
Luis said, what do you love most about being back in CT as an entrepreneur?
I mean, trick question.
Not the weather.
Definitely weather. That's a tough one, actually. When I first got here, I was like, oh, coming back from LA, I can be a big fish in a small pond. But I haven't been able to start anything with this whole Corona going on because everyone is just buckled down. It's a very conservative place. It's probably the most conservative place in the country. So it's not easy being an entrepreneur here. It's not easy getting people to understand how important social media is, especially.
Yeah. I
It's
still have to explain it to people.
It's still a very, like, if you want, for me, like, if I'm here and I want to do branding for people, it's so easy, like I said, to be a shark in a small pond because people don't take advantage. People here are still doing email blasts and doing billboards and cold calling when they could be spending money on social media advertising and building their own brands. But people here don't understand branding for themselves as a business.
Yeah, definitely. Cold calling is the funniest and the worst. Like, I can't believe people are still doing it.
I agree.
Like, I'll definitely not answer a cold call, but I'll more likely answer your cold email. That's for sure.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So going back into the entrepreneurship, I know you said you did 9 events. So yeah, what else have I don't know, even just like setting up the fights, like how have you been doing that too? Like that, like I know because you have a matchmaker.
Yeah. So again, that's another good point I can bring up. So when I first started, I did everything myself. I mean, I was the matchmaker. I did the sales. I did the advertising. I did all the event planning logistics. It wasn't until, I've slowly dialed things down. So when I added a matchmaker, I think that was after my 8th show, he came in and helped me a little bit. Then my 9th show, he was my single matchmaker. And that alone took off so much stress. Yeah. Because you don't realize what it takes for a fighter to go from signing the contract to stepping in the cage. All the medicals they have to go through. And it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah,
one,
and each state has different rules too.
yes, and if one fighter falls off, you know, you have to find a replacement, and that's not easy to do.
Yeah.
All their meds have to be up to date. You know, their MRIs and their blood work, and you know, their cardio. Like, there's so much involved.
Yeah.
People who aren't, that don't understand the sport, don't realize that these guys have to go through all these little jumps before they get in the cage. You're not just going to the gym, guy off the floor and saying, "Hey, come fight next weekend." It doesn't work like that.
Did you ever think about being one of the replacements?
All the time. I've always said, for a financial reason, if I ever were to fight again, it would make a lot of sense to fight on my own card, because I'd probably I would sell out for sure, just within like my my audience in LA.
Gotcha. Have all of them been in LA?
First 2 in San Diego, and then the last 7 were in Los Angeles.
Okay.
San Diego was great. It wasn't the market for what I'm doing, because it's a very festival type of relaxed atmosphere. And, you know, LA, as you know, it's all the celebrities, all the media. And I really built the platform on celebrities and media first.
Gotcha. So did you ever plan to bring it to the East Coast?
Yeah, I did. I actually have proposals from places in New York, like Cipriani's on Wall Street, Hammerstein Ballroom. I've got all the numbers for those places. And then in Connecticut, I did take a look at the Oakdale in Wallingford, just in case I want to do it here as my first one. It's a nice little venue, and it's a really good setup. It's like a big Thunderdome. And again, like, I have a lot of people here. I think that would come and support my first one at least. So I probably would be a good first step. But again, all the money is in New York. People think LA is where all the money is, and it's not. I mean, there is money, but it's more flashy than actual money. Yeah.
What about Vegas?
I don't know if I want to be in Dana White's backyard just yet.
Gotcha.
And Vegas is difficult, because Vegas is everything is run by a union.
Yeah.
So I have to go through all the unions
Gotcha.
and all their bumps, as opposed to me just hiring my own staff. And that's a lot of work to do, especially when I don't live there.
Gotcha. Luis also asked, how can people leverage social media more that aren't currently using it?
Have to spend time. It's so funny. What I've noticed a lot about people in Connecticut is, for example, they all will watch my story, right? They're active on social media as if it's a television station, but they're not engaging on it. They're not commenting. They're not posting their own stuff. They're not posting their own stories, but they're all on it, on and off all day long, which I don't understand. If you're going to be on Instagram, you should really use it to engage, because you're going to build your own brand, and everyone has potential to be their own brands within your industry, especially.
Yeah, definitely. Even I catch myself doing that exact thing what you just said, just looking at stuff and not engaging. And then when I engage, and I'm just like, oh, they mentioned me back or whatnot.
Yeah, you have to. You can't just be sit on the sideline
with
Instagram. I mean, you can, but you're just not using it to its potential.
Yeah, for sure. So after all this Corona stuff is over, what's the future for Smash Global?
Oh, Smash 10.
Did you even try to re-plan it right now, or are you just waiting?
Just waiting. Just waiting, because they keep on
they keep on pushing it. Yeah.
Back. I just saw, I think it was the other day, that the social distancing was going to be until May 15th now. You know, before it was May 1st, now it's May 15th. So I assume it's going to be September, as far as when it'd be safe to have the next show.
Gotcha. Yeah. Someone said talk about brand building. So how have you built your brand?
Built my brand. Let's think about this. You know, I really use my story to build the brands. You know, from the Wall Street, and from the education, from the fighting, and then with Smash Global, being associated with, you know, media and celebrities also gives you a lot more value in the eyes of others. You know, and I say this very humbly, but you know, there's a lot of people that I'm associated with that are celebrities outside of LA. I'm not going to name any names, but in LA, they're not looked at as celebrities at all. It's like once you leave that Hollywood bubble, your value exponentially grows. Like if I started Smash Global in Connecticut, I don't think I would have as big of a personal brand as if I did doing what I did in LA first.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can go and build your brands, obviously I know everybody can't do this, but if you went to LA, if someone moved to LA for 2 years to build their brand and then they left, their value would be way higher than what it was. Because again, they'd be a bigger fish in a smaller pond when they got back.
Yeah, definitely. What about, like, what else do you do besides that now? As far as just like in your free time, like you still work out, you still train?
Oh yeah, oh my God, that's my life. Yeah, so I'm the training. Unfortunately, I tore my ACL 6 weeks ago.
Oh, okay, damn.
So, yeah, I know I'm gonna need surgery at some point. I met with the surgeon last week. No surgeries are going on with the corona, so I assumed I wouldn't get in until June. I'm in Connecticut. I don't think I want to waste my summer in a knee immobilizer, so I'll probably wait until September.
Gotcha. Yeah, that sucks.
I can still function. You know, I can still do air squats and do stuff. I just can't go insane like if you see some of my videos really hard.
Yeah. And then going back into brand building, I know you have a lot of connections, so what about, like, how do you make all these connections?
How do I make all my connections? I'm a very big 1 degree of separation kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not forceful either. I'm big on building trust with people and not asking for anything.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully it reciprocates, it comes back. Too many people are so forceful and they want things so fast. You know, like after I have a show, for example, the amount of people who will reach out to me and say, hey, Steve, I saw this person was there. Can you introduce us? And I'm like, really? Really?
Yeah.
I'm not going to use that chip for you. I'll use it for me maybe down the road, but I don't look at any, I try not to take advantage of anyone who supports me in the first place. And I think people fail to do that. I think you really have to give people value and build trust. And if it comes back to you, it comes back to you. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I got to give a shout out to Travis for linking us up. That's how I found out about you, and you found out about me, I believe.
Yeah.
So that's dope. Not bad. Yeah, what advice would you give somebody? Well, actually, what advice would you give to a young MMA fighter starting off, and what advice would you give to somebody starting a business?
Young MMA fighter. I think all MMA fighters, I think they all fail at networking and building relationships while they're fighting. And I mentioned this times before, like you're not a fighter, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you probably have so much respect and admiration for fighters because you're a fan of them. If these fighters used their time while they were fighting to engage, network, and build relationships with other entrepreneurs and successful people, then when they retire, they'll have a whole circle to help them in their next chapter. But it's a very hard thing to do because while you're fighting, you never think you're going to retire.
Mm-hmm.
You think you truly feel, otherwise you won't be doing it, that you're going to be a Hall of Famer. You're going to be a legend. You're not going to have to build a circle. But the reality is not many guys get to that point. I mean, you're talking like less than 1%. So while you're fighting, you really need to use your platform, because if you're a pro fighter, it doesn't matter what your record is. You go out and you're talking with people and they find out, oh yeah, you're a pro fighter. Well, that's really cool. They want to engage with you because that's not what they do.
Yeah. And then, what advice would you give for somebody starting a business?
Oh man, you have to have mentors. You know, I know it's so cliche to say, you hear this all the time on social media, but I would be where I was if I don't say piggyback, but didn't use my resources from an information standpoint. Because when you're a new entrepreneur or starting a new business, you're going to fail on so many different levels all the time. You know, it's going to take a few. I remember when I first started Smash Global, my bookkeeper said, hey, as long as you can weather the storm for at least 3 years, you'll probably be. I always kept that in the back of my head. I'm like, okay, 3 years. You know, and then the more I read, I'm like, well, it's actually 3 to 7 years it takes to hopefully, you know, be successful. I'm like, that's so crazy to think about. To do this much work and not make money for 3, 4, 5, 6 years is a crazy thing. And that's why most people don't do it. Like right in a time like this, you own a business, you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
But then you see everyone else, the essential workers, like working for the gas company, UI, or the Metro or whatever, like they're thriving right now, you know. So it's not an easy thing starting your own business.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I previously talked about just like I've seen so many people like start stuff since I've been doing my thing, like, and just stop after like a month or 2 months, a year, and it's just like that's why. And I don't like. There's no secret. It's just like you have to keep on doing it.
You have to. It's really difficult. Really difficult. You know, that's
Yeah.
why, you know, Gary Vee always says, you know, start it as a side hustle.
Yeah.
And kind of build a base and go all in when you can.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think sometimes people think like you can't have like a job and do it at the same, and I'm just like, no, you could do that. You just have to do work after work.
Exactly. Yeah, it all depends on what you're doing too.
Yeah.
Right now, all the guys who are in e-commerce are killing.
Yeah.
You know, so I would always say if you're going to start a business, make sure you have a strong wherewithal with the internet. You have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if it hits the fan like this, at least you have engagement like me and you right now to do stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the other funny thing that happened was just like these big companies don't even know how to like work from home, and like so it's like what I don't like. It didn't even click with me like how that is possible.
Yeah, so true. Most people aren't used to it. It's hard. Working from home is difficult.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm just used to it now. So.
True.
Oh yeah, and going back to the athlete thing, it's funny that you said that because about athletes not networking, because like that's what I'm trying to help like athletes do. Like I help them build their brands, but I'm like networking. I'm like, yo, you know this person and that person, and they're like, yeah, and I'm just like, yo, hit them up, and then they're like, nah, like I don't want to like ask them for something. I'm like, yo, you've known them for like, it's not like you just met them. Like I'm like, you've known them for 5 years, like
But
you know them.
those athletes have no idea how much those entrepreneurs respect them. Like
Yeah.
say that athlete is like nervous to ask for help, that's because that athlete respects that person so much. Well, it's the same thing for the entrepreneur. You know, it's like this day and age, athletes want to be entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs wish they were athletes. Rappers wish they played basketball. Basketball they wish they were rappers. There's a mutual respect among industries, and all athletes are respected by, especially savage entrepreneurs, because those guys have the same mindset. It's the same mindset. They just use it differently.
Yeah, for sure. Like even Gary, going back to Gary Vee, and I work with like a lot of boxers, and he's a huge boxing fan. And I just told like a couple of them to reach out, and he like instantly answered them because they're boxers.
Yeah, exactly.
This guy said, "How about to build brands, but your source is overseas?" I'm not understanding. What's the question?
Brand, your source is overseas.
You mean you're selling products from overseas? Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what he means. Well, I think I know what I don't know. What else do you like to do in your free time?
Man, my free time literally has always been Smash Global, and I spend a lot of time on Instagram and social media. I'm probably on here like 5 hours a day, for sure.
Mm-hmm. What about why don't you use Twitter?
I'm not a fan of Twitter at all. I tried it in the beginning. I don't like it.
All right, I think you should get on. I think you should give it another shot.
I don't know. I like Twitter's down.
I don't know. I love Twitter. I think Twitter is probably my favorite.
Really?
Yeah. Well, and you could like actually, I mean, and especially for my podcast, like I'm tweeting out the links and like the videos, and those get the most engagement on Twitter because you can actually click it and then listen to the whole thing if you want it.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. What else was I gonna say? So, like, say, like, I hate these kind of questions, but But what's like your 5-year plan for like Smash Global?
Man, it's so funny because I'm really literally at the point that I want to scale. Like I want to grow.
Yeah.
And I always say this, I'm like, Dana White's lucky I don't have my own Fertitta brothers behind me. So I come from fast. But I'm literally at that point that I want to scale. I had a couple big meetings lined up literally the week before the social distancing. That didn't happen. So we'll see when this is over. That's exactly what I'm going to go back to. Because I really want to raise capital and take that next step. Because I've, it's been pretty much all on me. And I haven't had like that big injection where it's okay, now I can do a show every month, or every other month for the next 3 to 5 years. And that's what I would love to do. It's a lot of work, but with the 9 shows that I've done, I had the template down. Now it's just go, go, go.
What about like, is there anyone that you want to get on your card, like to fight?
Personally, let me think about it. No one specifically. I will say this. In a perfect world, because I've had guys who fought in Bellator, guys who fought in the UFC come fight for me, in the past. But it's hard because if those guys have already been to the big show, and then now they're on my show, it means that they lost. So they're not that they're not as relevant, but they're on their downhill. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and those guys are more expensive. And the crowd comes, they don't even know who they are in the first place, so it doesn't really help me. In a perfect world, I'd love to say the only way you fight for Smash Global is if you're undefeated, right? Because everybody knows what undefeated means.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't even have to be a fight fan. If you know someone's 8-0 and they're fighting someone who's 4-0, that means something.
Yeah, that'd be cool, and it goes along with your whole brand with the black tie and everything.
Yes, exactly.
It's like elite.
Yeah, it's kind of like what's the word? Fight to the death.
Yeah.
You guys are undefeated. Get that one first L. That's like your death.
Yeah. That's what Ultimate Fighter did that one season. They were all undefeated.
Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah. So
for worst case, you still do that. You might not always be able to, but you could always have guys with one loss.
Yeah.
But then you have like a little comeback story. You're kind of getting their redemption.
Yeah, for sure. So what made you start going live with all the people I know your third show tonight with Shane Mosley.
Yeah, we're all bored.
Yeah.
If you're in sports and entertainment, you're probably extra bored because sports and entertainment is shut down. I'm like, man, what can I do to like still engage with people? Maybe do some content, just do something with my time. So I was like, let me reach out to people on my network that, I would want to do IG lives with in the first place. Do it like a couple of weeks, just to do something. So I started doing it, and it's actually fun. It's more fun than I thought, especially with the people I'm starting with because I know them personally. And they all had these stories that people don't know of, because most people, again, you only know them in their bubble.
Yeah.
Like people don't know Shane Mosley, the person. They know Shane Mosley, the fighter. Mike O'Hearn. They know Mike O'Hearn as this fitness icon, looks like a Greek god, but they don't know Mike when he's off camera. You know what I mean? Not on his YouTube. So it's fun to kind of engage with people personally, and then fans of them especially can get to know the person differently.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that's the other positive thing about Corona. It's just showing everybody that everyone's human, no matter if you're famous or not.
Yeah, it's funny because I was, where was I? I was downstairs one day and my wife, hey, Justin Bieber's live right now. Go on his page and try to request him, like 1,000 other people, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just watching him. I'm speaking to fans, which is so cool. It's boring shit. It was so boring. But that doesn't matter. The person that he let go in live with him is like, that's something that person will never ever forget. And those are the kind of things that they play my heartstrings because I'm a very big give back, pay it forward kind of person. So when I see someone like that take the time when he has plenty of it to engage with his fans. That's a really cool experience.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was so pissed for you when the A-Rod Live didn't save.
Oh my God, I was mad. So mad. I'm never using Wi-Fi again. LTE. After the live is over, it gives the option to save to camera roll or put on your story. And obviously I wanted to share it to my camera roll, but it wouldn't let me. I don't know why. The arrow didn't pop up. So I'm like, okay, no big deal. I'll just put it on my live, and I'll just save it later, because you can re-upload them. So I went to go do that, and it, in the video it said, had an error message. I'm like, oh, gotta be kidding me. And I'm such an idiot for not having somebody record it while it was on. So for now on, I do that. My man Nick, who's doing my flyers, he did with Mike O'Hearn. He recorded it just in case. But even with that one, after it was over, the arrow did not pop up in the corner to save the camera roll. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think they do that anymore. Because it used to be like that. It's not. Yeah, it's just you have to share it.
Okay, so now I just.
There's a way to rip them too. After I'll send you this stuff.
Okay,
That's what I've been doing.
Like, I don't want the error message to ever happen again. I'm like nervous that's gonna happen.
Yeah, no, that's why it hasn't happened to me yet. And then I saw it happen to you, and then I was like, yeah, it's in it. Then I was like, damn, I'm gonna have to start back up recording this somehow.
Yeah, you definitely have to. I think it's important because it's it's something you have forever. But I'll get him back on. I'll get him back on.
Don't worry. That only one time for my other podcast. I usually now I've been doing videos, but I usually do it just voice. And I had Ben Gordon on. He's a basketball player.
Yeah.
Played for UConn. Had to do it 3 times with him.
No.
The first time, and it didn't save the third time. Yeah, it was crazy. The first time, it didn't save. The second time, he answered one question. I got a phone call. Said he was going to call me back. Didn't call me back. Then the third time, I did it again. We went on live too and did it.
Yeah.
It didn't save on my computer again, but he saved it on his live, and that's how I figured out how to rip them from the live. And I just took it from the live, so it was crazy.
I felt like it was like such a sign of just being an entrepreneur. Like what happened, like things that are out of your control. I was like,
Yeah, and it was your first one too, so that's why it's kind of ironic like that happened.
Exactly. I feel like I had this like first time blooper.
Yeah.
I guess you want that to happen your first time around because you never let that happen again. You make sure you have backups, you do everything right in the next time. Yeah,
exactly. What about could you give me any insight who you're gonna have on next besides Shane Mosby?
I'm not sure yet. I'm gonna message a bunch of people, and then I'll probably do it on Thursday or Friday.
Gotcha. So you're trying to do like 2 a week?
Yeah, 2 a week.
Gotcha. Yeah, I might cut back because I've been doing them every like Monday through Friday, and it's kind of like burning me out a little.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So, because for me, I figure you do one, and then you got to let that one run on your live for 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Then 24 hours later, you can take that content, you put it on your IGTV. And then the next day, you take the content and you put it on your IG highlights. So kind of like a slow little process, like a 3-day process, and then do the next.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've been uploading them to YouTube too.
Okay. Yeah, I got to do that as well.
Yeah. Just making it like at first it was like I didn't want it to be like a whole production because I just was doing it for like kind of fun.
Yep.
And then now I was just like, shit. Now it's like turned into more and more and more, and then I'm just like, all right, whatever. I got nothing else better to do right now.
Sure. I mean, you could definitely do one a day. You don't have to really, you just put them in your database, put them in your library.
Yeah. Then I'll just never. I got to do it. I got to just upload it that day.
Well, I'm just saying. I'm only saying that because you figure once the social distancing is over, it might be more difficult to be doing these more often. So if you kind of build your library now,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. All right. What about? Do you have any questions for me?
Questions for you. Let me hear what PG Sports is all about.
So I'll give you a quick story, I guess. So I started in 2011. I was 19. I was a sophomore in college, or going into my sophomore year of college. Just started as a Twitter page tweeting about sports. Maybe that's why I'm biased towards Twitter. Um, and then I just made T-shirts to hand it out to people. Now it's called influencer marketing. I was just reaching out to people to wear it. I didn't know what I was doing really. So I got people to wear the shirts, got my logo redesigned from there. So basically became a clothing line, but now I consider it more of a like media marketing brand. Because that's what I love doing clothes and stuff, but it's really hard to sell stuff like that. So
Merch is hard.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. So I'm doing more now. I'm working more because I always want to be a sports agent. So now I'm working more with athletes on the marketing side and helping them build their brands. Doing like literally anything from like handling their emails, like resizing a photo, like it could be anything.
Oh shit.
Helping them get sponsors. Basically being their virtual assistant, but like I'm on another level of virtual assistants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brand building is hard. It's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah. And like you said, I mean, just a lot of people aren't using social media as much as they should be, especially athletes.
Yeah, athletes need to. Without.
Yeah. I mean, especially, and I'm big into boxing and MMA, and that's just like, they're really not using it at all.
No, they're not. I think I don't know about boxing because I can't speak on those guys, but I know with MMA, those guys don't like to market. Like they feel like they just have to fight and that's it.
Yeah.
Especially guys that are just starting out, like their first 5, 6, 7 fights. People who aren't fighters don't realize this. You just get into the game. Let's say it's your 4th fight. These guys are required to sell tickets.
Yeah.
So these guys have to sell like 20, 25 tickets. They want to get paid. It's just part of in your contract. Now, fighters don't want to sell tickets.
Yeah.
They just want to have fight camp, fight, get paid, and go home. But, you also have to understand, as a fighter, if you're not marketable, why should the promoter put you on their card in the first place? If you can't get 20 people to come watch you fight, that says a lot about you as a person. I'm not as a person, but as being marketable. So I think it's important for these athletes to really understand you need to start marketing yourself early as possible. Don't think, oh, I don't have to market, I just have to fight. No, it doesn't work like that. Fighting is just a small percentage of your platform.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, no, I think for MMA fighters, it's kind of easier than boxers because there's like quote unquote leagues.
Big surge.
You know what I'm saying? Because there's like leagues in boxing.
Yeah.
I mean, in MMA.
Yep.
And not really in boxing. It's like
True.
Sort of, but not like basically, like you said, like Bellator. You can get on Bellator, and then all of a sudden you're a Bellator fighter, or you could just say that at least to pitch to sponsors, and stuff like that.
True.
In boxing, it's just like, oh yeah, I'm like 1-0 from Connecticut. I'm on like this local promoter.
Yeah, it actually goes a long way. Okay, let's say you get into the UFC.
Yeah.
Whether it's like one and done or not,
Yeah.
after you're done fighting, you can go open up your own gym and you can use a UFC banner all you want.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Former UFC fighter,
Yeah.
the people in small town USA like this, they just see, oh my God, this guy fought in the UFC. He must be legit. And there's your branding right there. So associating yourself with monster brands is really important.
Yeah, for sure. Your boy said, heck, even as a cut man in combat sports, social media assisted me in moving in the ranks of my fellow cut men. That's dope.
Yeah, that's my man Serge, best cut man in the game.
There you go. All right, well, I appreciate you coming on, and we'll definitely have to stay in contact.
Okay, you got it anytime. Let me know.
He said I'm using the Smash Global banner. There you go.
I'm gonna start charging you. No.
All right, have a good one.
All right, me too.
All right, see you.